Welcome back to A Door Cream. Today is Memorial Day, April 21st, 2016. 1 year ago today, Prince was taken from us. Well, actually, we're a few hours ahead of that being here in New Zealand. We're about 15 hours away from the event now. As you can see, I've updated my livery a bit there. That's the new title that'll appear on all my videos from now on in the background. And of course the Prince poster I bought last year. I haven't put holes in, I've just put pins around it, but we need more Prince in these videos. I'm starting a slow but sure process of studio dressing. Now, quite a lot's happened in this past week since the Sign of the Times series ended. As usual, whenever we come up to the anniversary of a celebrity's death, we start to get gossip, basically, and this is probably wondering what the heck this is. First we'll talk about something much lighter. City Pages in Minneapolis released this Essential Prince album guide, which is divided a few fans because they are pretty harsh on albums like Lotus Flower and the Rainbow Children, giving them half a star out of 4, and basically only really talking about how great the best albums like Purple Rain and Sign of the Times are. But then on April 17th, what happened was the Minnesota Sheriff's Department, I don't know this, I mean I'm a New Zealander, we don't have counties and shires and all these different sheriffs and things. We just have one New Zealand police force here. But they decided to release all the documents relating to Prince's death on the 17th, and I've printed them out here because I just like reading through them, because pretty much these documents have caused an absolute shitstorm, would be a way to describe it, because up until this point, when Prince died, basically it was believed that he had died of either some sort of bizarre drug overdose, the flu, or even possibly AIDS. Now it turns out Prince actually did die of a lethal dose of fentanyl, which is an opioid painkiller which is so severe that the amount he had in them was 100 times more strong than heroin, and apparently it could kill a whole army. Which has actually led to several of us, myself included, starting to think that Prince was actually a bit of a hypocrite by declaring that he was drug-free, he lived a clean and sober life, when these things actually show that on the day of his death, when they went into his house, they found several bottles of pills. Most of them were opoid-based painkillers, along with some more sort of tame pills, like something called oncomycin, I think it is, which is basically an anti-purgative drug. I mean, the writing in these is not very professional. They refer to the drug as a puking agent. They can't even use the word vomit, basically, or as I call it, purgative, which means to purge your body of the contents. Now, what had happened was Prince had been getting progressively sicker. I mean, even if you look at the poster behind me, I mean, Prince does look rather gaunt and skinny, but nothing in that picture says to me that he was a drug addict. Basically, also what was happening too was Kirk Johnson, his bodyguard and sometimes member of the New Power generation back in the 90s, was pretty much living with him and minding his day-to-day security affairs. And he even took this thing one step further by getting prescriptions in his name. And also too, what happens, we've got two crooked doctors here. One of them is Michael Todd Schulenberg, who was actually writing out prescriptions to Kirk Johnson, and also now it turns out Prince was using another alias, and Prince is this alias, Peter Bravestrong. Now it turned out he'd been using the Bravestrong alias at least since he started touring back in the 80s, and he was doing it so, you know, people wouldn't ring him up in his hotel or plug his phone line or anything, and he was getting prescriptions written out under the name of Peter Bravestrong. There have been interpretations to what the name means. Some people think Peter means a you-know-what, basically a man's phallic extension. Others believe it's about St. Peter and him being brave and strong, so again, biblical references. But anyway, what it turns out was that Prince was using opoid painkillers for recreational use. He was being prescribed drugs he did not need. He had hip surgery replacement apparently in 2010. And that would explain his more lively behaviour in the 2012 tour. He was basically addicted to these drugs, and the other man found on the premises, Andrew Kornberg, was actually apparently there on agency of his father, who ran a drug rehab centre in LA, and they were actually at Paisley Park for the day to assess whether Prince was suitable candidate to go on their drug rehab program. But the story fell apart when basically these search warrants, the first thing they did was they seized Kornberg's backpack, which contained, amongst other things, 3 types of drugs, including again another anti-purgative, a type of opoid-laced painkiller, and also drug apparati, which included a weighing scales, pairs of tweezers, and even a supply of foreign currency and American currency, which clearly suggests to us all that Bateson on these pain-killing drugs, which really were doing more harm than good. It doesn't say who gave Prince a lethal dose of fentanyl, but one thing that does come out is that about half an hour before Prince was found by the paramedics and there was the call, and it's believed now that it was probably Andrew Cornfield who made the call. It turns out that Prince was Kirk Johnson had arrived at work at 9 AM and he instantly heard a scream from the elevator. And he knew it was Prince, but he thought, knowing Prince, he was probably doing some soul scream rehearsals for the studio work. But, but we didn't know that actually it was a scream of pain, obviously. So sometime around 9 AM, someone had administered Prince the fatal dose of fentanyl. Most people now believe that Prince probably had scored the drugs either off Schulenberg or Cornfield and administered the dose of fentanyl himself, and then he died in the elevator. It also revealed a lot of other things. It also revealed that Prince was not using a mobile phone, even though these guys actually tried to seize the records from AT&T, the American phone company. They also went to Google because they recovered Prince's silver laptop, and it turned out Prince had been using email addresses for Judith Hill, and it also turned out that he had been having a romantic relationship with Judith Hill since November 2014. And he was using her, and also the name of former Paisley Park manager Julia Ramadan. And also he was using emails there. No conclusiveness about what the emails are saying. I'm not going to gossip, I don't want to be taken down, but it's sad really. But at the same time, we just have to realise that Prince was just human clay like the rest of us, and I think it's wrong to judge him because of this. I'm not going to pour scorn on a dead man. I think it's unfortunate that the timing of these documents being released around his anniversary is sad, because of course the tabloid media have jumped on it with aplomb. The Sun referring to him as a druggie with bottles of drugs lying around the house, and everyone's called him every horrible name under the sun and reinforced the cliche of the drugged out rock star dying of a drug overdose. And in some ways it's true, but a lot of these things hint at too that Prince had a history of using drugs. He was getting a B12 shot, whatever B12 is. I thought that was a vitamin. I don't do drugs. I don't study drugs. I'm not American. I'm a New Zealander. We have strict laws about drug usage in this country. They don't in America, but they do here in New Zealand, so I'm ignorant, sorry. So Paisley Park, please don't take me down. I don't know about this stuff. I don't live in a world where people get shot up with energy shots to go perform a concert. I don't do that shit in my life. I mean, if I was, I'd be 100 pounds lighter than I am now, basically. And anyway, so it's all sad, and I'm not going to go on with it anymore because it did upset me a bit. Basically, there was a 41-page thread on the org where people were arguing over this stuff, and several people left the org in disgust because the Rosies, I call them the rose-coloured fans, who think that Prince had the wings of an angel, basically tore it shreds anybody who referred to Prince as a drug addict or a junkie, pretty much. But the fact remains was Prince was using drugs recreationally. The landing in Malene on April the 15th after the Atlanta show was because Prince had had a drug overdose, again of opoid-laced painkillers. So there was drugs, people, illegal narcotic drugs. But anyway, so what? Man's died for it now. I mean, I'm looking at the legacy he left, which is an amazing legacy, and I don't care more about that. Now, talking about legacy, the other thing that happened this week too was a 6-song albumette EP thing called Deliverance came out. Well, it was supposed to come out. It was actually out yesterday and the day before. Someone actually uploaded the whole album to YouTube. I got to listen to it about 3 or 4 times before it got taken down. There's probably torrents of it out there. I'm not advocating bootlegs and torrents, guys, but basically the thing was pulled from sale. It was not an official Warner Brothers or MPG release. And apparently the album consists of 6 songs, which was basically some songs Prince recorded between 2006 and 2008. So the 31, 21 to Lotus Flower era. I've actually heard them. Probably the best song on the album is called Deliverance, and I Am. They're the 2 main rock songs, and in the middle is a mini opera made up of 4 songs, and the whole thing is not even 16 minutes long. The cover was quite distinctive too, showing some geometric patterns in the shape of a Gothic window with a purple background just saying Prince Deliverance. The opening song, Deliverance, is excellent and included Prince singing some very sort of hyped up, rocked up falsetto vocals. He was absolutely screaming away at this guitar. This is really good music, actually. It's not Tacky Cashin. It's definitely him. It's not some imitator. It's not a Cascio. I mean, it's not like the rash of rubbishy Michael Jackson releases. And it's a shame it's been taken down because it's a worthwhile addition to his legacy, really. And yeah, apart from that, also, I mean, so we've had turned down releases, we've had drug allegations, and now it looks like at the very least we're going to get some good news, and that's Purple Rain Deluxe. Warners have announced that the thing will come out sometime in the middle of June. I think June 17th was the date I was quoted. And it's actually going to feature at least 2 CDs of unreleased music and 2 concerts. But I already have a feeling one of the concerts will be Syracuse, which is probably his most commercialised, packed concert of the lot. But who knows, watch this space. Yeah, so there's my memorial video. I'm rocking Prince all day, except for when I'm recording this, you know, so listen to him, play him loud. You know, even if he did take drugs, so what? I mean, who hasn't, you know, I mean, this is America, this is rock and roll, there's drugs, you know, let's get used to it, basically. That's me, a door cream. Hope you like my new livery. You know, I mean, the whole device is definitely a reference to myself, and peace and stay funky.